Okay, so to learn a language, what you need to do is firstly you need to get rid of the beliefs which you have gotten from school, which are that you don't that you have to learn a language through explicit explanations in your own native language. So through grammar explanations and through exercises and everything, you have to understand that this is not how we learn languages effectively, at least. And in the countries where people speak foreign language as well, it's often because of other factors than it's not because they put that much focus on learning languages in school. It's because of other things. So first thing to do is change your perspective, and it can't be done from one day to another. We always have remnants of what our environment has instilled in us, and even if you know that it's not rational, it's still going to be a part of you. But being aware is the first step. So realize that this isn't how you learn languages, and you don't necessarily have to study a language. You don't have to sit down with your notes or everything. Yes, you can do this, but it's not how we tend to learn languages. And in the way you've learned to do it in school is not even effective. Maybe there are more intense and more academic ways of learning languages which can actually work, but the ways you learn in school don't work. Okay, so to learn or to understand how we learn, we have to understand how our brain works. So our brain can be considered a pattern recognizing machine, and this is important because what you say is not new. Everything we say is because we've heard it already, and when you grow up, you are exposed to your parents who speak to you in your native language or their native language at the time, and you are exposed to this information from your environment all the time. So our brain starts to recognize the patterns. Okay, this word was said in this case where this was what was happening, and what you then do is you associate this situation with this word, and then you see, okay, this word was used in combination with this word. That's not even really how it works, because when we hear a phrase, we learn the phrase, not the parts of the phrase, but you see these associations and you learn how to speak, or you become conscious of these words and phrases, and then you over time can add more and more and more combinations of these words to your subconscious, and then it gets to a point where you can eventually repeat it and say mostly anything you like. So this is how we learn languages, and to optimize or to learn with this in mind, what you have to do is you have to start listening to the language which you're trying to learn, because we learn through listening, or that's the original form of communication, is spoken and oral communication. It's not there are tools which we have now which are written communication, which is very useful, and grammar explanations which also can be useful to understand the language, but these are representations of the language. The original language is oral spoken language. So, and we have connections which are very deep. Or of course we always look for patterns, but for example, right now while I'm speaking, your brain is trying to predict what I'm going to say next, and so on and so forth. So what you need to do is you need to listen and try to make it as comprehensible as possible. And you can do this by listening to things or reading things, which I don't really suggest reading from the beginning, but from listening to things you already have understood, so things you've already seen in your native language, or using translation tools to see a translation first and then watch it. So even if it's a new show, for example, it's a good idea to spoil the show if you're trying to learn, of course. If it's for other reasons, then maybe you don't want to do this, but it's better to have as much information as possible, even if it can be considered as cheating or artificial. It's more important that you understand, and you have to try to get as high of a understanding or comprehension as possible. And in that case, but with the original language. Okay, so if you, for example, use subtitles in your own language the whole time, then you won't learn. But if you use subtitles in your own language or read a summary one time in your own language and then watch it with subtitles in the language you're trying to learn, then that's good learning. But you have to kind of balance it out. You don't want to use this crutch all the time, but you want to use tools which can help you understand the content which you're consuming. And through this, you'll be able to understand. So another important thing is repetition. It tends to be better to repeat, or it's almost always better to repeat something which you already understood and already heard than to listen to new things. Obviously, there are other factors which make part of this. People talk about spaced repetition and everything, but we learn more from reinforcing what we've already heard, and this can even help you speak better, even if you understand everything, because you internalized the phrases which you already know. So, but in general, it's better to have some words there which you don't understand, because then you're increasing your vocabulary. But so what you want to do is repeat things you already understood, and look up words. It's not really a problem to look up words. Look up words if you need to. You will get to a point where you can read a dictionary in the target language, and then you can do things solely in the language you're trying to learn. But in the start, there's really not many problems with using these tools to learn languages, and you just need to have a holistic perspective and not be a slave to anything. So you have to use the tools and not be used by the tools, so to say. And throughout this process, then you learn. It's better to be focused, but you also have to listen every day. And I think the things which are okay, so maybe it's good to look at certain words or grammar, but the most important thing is that you're able to consistently listen every day, and learning how to express yourself, how to speak, everything, how to use certain structures. It's something that's secondary to listening every day, in my opinion. You have to listen every day, and then you can see what you can do to speed up your progress. But the base is always to listen every day, and throughout this process, then you'll be able to learn more. You should listen as much as possible, and more is more. So if you feel that you're not doing something which is too taxing for you, then you should do as much as possible. There are obviously things which are focus and everything, which is a limited resource, which, you know, sometimes it can be good to take a break and everything, but in my experience, just listening all the time, even if you sometimes fall in and out, when it comes to learning a language, just listening makes a difference, even if it isn't at an optimal stage all the time. So even if you fall out of things a little bit, just having the practice of listening a lot is will make it better. So what you can do is use the times where you are doing something which is very automized for you and doesn't take a lot of mental energy. You can listen. So when you're cleaning the house, when you're cooking, when you're cleaning the dishes, washing the dishes, when you're at the gym, if you're going for a walk. The most important thing is that everything is manageable for you. That it's something that's enjoyable enough for you to keep on going, because we humans tend to be lazy. Our brain wants to save as much energy as possible, so we have to be aware of how our brain works and leverage this and not try to fight against our own nature. So you need to do things which aren't too difficult, because if it's too difficult, then you won't continue. And the most important thing is to continue. And it's better to do a little bit every day than to do a lot in one day. And that's something I see in the languages where I'm kind of, I don't know if my progress is, or if I'm progressing. I feel like in that case, I look at what I can do to improve, but I also just keep on listening, or that's the goal I have. If I keep on listening an hour, 2 hours a day, then I'll learn. So just keep on being consistent, and this will make you learn. So listening to things which you have increased your comprehension as much as possible, or which you comprehend, and not that you comprehend everything, because in that case you would technically already speak the language, but that you understand the main concept of what this is about. So, or if you have already listened to a translation, then I guess you already understand everything. So there are a lot of tools now. For example, on YouTube, they have translated videos, which YouTube makes by themselves with AI. Maybe they aren't as pleasurable to listen to as the original soundtrack, but if you listen to the translated version in English, which can be text to speech, maybe it's not as pleasurable, but it gives you the understanding of the video you're going to watch, and then you can listen to it with a real authentic soundtrack, which is more pleasurable. But this soundtrack which you actually like, you can listen to that many times. You only need to listen to it maybe once in your native language to get a language which you've mastered, to get an understanding of how you should what the video is about. So okay, so what you need to do is listen every day for at least 30 minutes to an hour, and more is more, and do this every day. Do things which are pleasurable for you, and things which your brain likes, and throughout this process then you'll be able to learn whatever language you want to learn. Some languages have particular difficulties, but the pillars are always the same. So do this, and then you'll be able to learn the language which you want to learn.